What's poppin', ladies and gentlemen? How's everyone doing this afternoon, or wherever you are in the world? Hopefully, it's still good. This is your boy, the Animal. I have a very special guest on my channel today. He's a very very good friend of mine. His name is BeysideRoshi. Say hello, man.
Hello!
And today we're gonna be doing some reviews on some of the old Power Rangers videos. So we're gonna be looking at it from two different perspectives. One from a fan perspective, which is my homie, and a non-fan perspective, which is myself. And if you guys have seen my community post, the reason why I'm doing this is because I wanted to bring aware of suicide and suicide prevention and well as suicide ideations, and I just really want to bring that to light as someone who's went through it myself. It's a really difficult thing to go through, and more importantly, how it affects the families of suicide victims. And we're also doing this within the memory of Jason David Frank, as well as Trini's
Mrs. Tran,
Mrs. Tran,
the
which
actress for Trini, also passed away quite a long while ago. But yeah, I mean, we're also just doing this, man, because if we're honest, we all know somebody that has had depression, struggled with thoughts. And at the end of the day, we just want you guys to know this is a safe place. And if you ever need anything, you can reach out to myself or Ivan. I'm in the Discord with him. So
absolutely,
always feel like you guys can reach out.
absolutely. So now we're gonna edit this part out. So, like I said, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be reviewing the first 5 episodes of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, and I guess to start off, as for the overall my overall views on it, it's because I really haven't watched a lot of Power Rangers growing up. It wasn't that big on my part of my childhood, but I did see enough of it, and to see it again, it's definitely campy, it's definitely cheesy, but I totally understand why it was such a massive hit, and even watching it again, watching these first 5 episodes, it was like I'm starting to see the appeal now, and some of the stuff now, like when you're adults, it's kind of cringe when you watch it now from an adult perspective, but it's still but that's what the show had its charm for. That's what the charm was for the show as a whole. But what are you thinking, man?
Man, I will tell you, there were a lot of surprises that I really didn't uh, pick up on, I guess, when I was a kid. One of the biggest things is I didn't realize it, but if you notice, the overall cast for the show is very inclusive. You have very diverse lead cast, and then on top of that, they draw attention to like the girl that was in the last episode we watched. She was deaf. Like that's a huge thing,
Yeah,
and for the fact that like they made her a central part of the story was really shocking to me. Um, but I really enjoyed it. I will say the two things that really made me like remember just how much fun the show can be is when Goldar and the Sphinx monster were beating up on the Megazord. Like there were obvious times where you could just tell their budget wasn't good enough to have, kaiju's fighting with a mech.
yeah,
And like you could obviously tell it was a guy in a suit. But overall, like it still didn't take away from the show.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Um, but yeah, man, I'm actually excited to kind of hear your thoughts. Seeing as to how you're not like this huge fan of Power Rangers and I kind of am, I'm gonna have some bias there. But I've got some questions for you, man.
Sure. What's up, man?
Uh, so number one, Walter Emmanuel Jones, August St. John, all these guys, they have been doing Power Rangers for 20 some odd years now.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just curious, how does it feel to be watching this so long after the fact with these glasses on, as far as like, we're doing this for a really good cause, but how does it feel to watch this knowing that some of these people are still here and like they can impact this generation?
I think it's an extremely beautiful thing. Like I said, like I wasn't a massive fan of it, but I did see some of the episodes growing up, and even watching the current episode, rewatching some of these episodes again, there were some things that I did not remember seeing, and that I was shocked, like you said, when they included the girl that was death, or even seeing the two bullies, like, you know, them getting flat on their asses and stuff like that. It's just like, wow, like this is way more entertaining than I thought it was gonna be. And the fact that these
Definitely.
and the fact that these people are still around, still having a strong association with Power Rangers, is, I think, is a beautiful thing. It's like that childhood is still living on even after even after so many years later. And I just think that's
Right.
you don't really see that a lot when it comes to other cartoon shows. Some of the people,
Right.
they just either fade away to obscurity, or they just do other
And what's
things.
crazy is next year is 30 years since
Yeah,
Power Rangers debuted, man. It's so crazy.
third.
But
Yeah,
another thing I wanted to bring up, man, you kind of brought up the topic of the bullies. Man, they handle that very well in this show. You
they.
know, they don't glorify the behavior. They make it very silly and very abrupt. But the reason I think they do that is because they don't want to give the bullies a power in the show. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
yeah.
And that's pretty forward considering the time.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I was really impressed. The fact that you brought it up, I was kind of like, dang, man, that's not even something I would have even thought about. But you are right. Like they did a very good job of showing that bullying wasn't okay. Um, there are some things, like you said, as an adult, you kind of just shake your head and go, man, there's no way. But overall, I thoroughly am enjoying our watch. Um, it is kind of weird. We haven't made it to Green Ranger territory yet. And when we do, I know it'll probably hit me a little harder.
Yeah,
Uh, but like, man, it's so good to see this cast and see them, kind of grow into their roles because I remember them already established. You know what I mean? Like
yeah,
when we went into this, I was like, oh man, I can't wait to see Billy turn his VW bug into a time machine or this or that or whatever, right? But like at the end of the day, they're still kids in this show right now.
yeah.
Like they're younger than both of us. Um, I really liked how they address fear, phobias, and stuff like that. I thought that was
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah, especially Trini with the fear of heights and stuff like that, which I can totally relate to. I don't like heights at all. I don't like going on stools. So for her to climb that rock is that's another thing I really want to mention, the lessons, and like just like they bringing to the public, not just like what you said about the whole bullying, be like bullying's not okay. You can conquer your
Right.
fear. You can work together to accomplish certain things. Like it may seem a little cheesy
Right.
nowadays, but it was super important back then for kids to learn, hey, we can work together. We can be very good friends, you know. Don't.
Well, and I think that's important now. I mean, I
Oh yeah,
think those
now yeah.
lessons still kind of hold up.
Oh yeah, they absolutely do. They absolutely hold up even to this day, and I think that's what they still represent. And I think it's absolutely beautiful. Like if I were to have a kid right now, I would totally have him watch some Power Rangers. Be like, hey, son or daughter,
Right.
this is where what I grew up on. I think you're gonna enjoy it, and chances are they will too.
Right. Right.
it's that impactful. Yeah.
And I have to say, man, like, I don't know if they actually got a deaf person involved in that episode that we're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
But if they did, kudos to them because I can't imagine how tough that has to be in Hollywood to find a role that's not, oh, poor, deaf girl, No, she was very not helpless. She did exactly what a person should do in that situation.
Mm-hmm.
It was, it was very refreshing to see, even if it wasn't a kid's show. It kind of takes me back to like Justice League Unlimited or even Static Shock,
Yeah.
where these shows have these really big moments that aren't typical of kids shows. Um, and I really appreciated it.
It really was. I totally agree with you there. Like, Power Rangers was definitely ahead of its time.
Definitely. I'm very curious to see if they ever touch on the like hot button issues. Like I don't expect abortion to be in the show, but maybe I do kind of expect something like homosexuality to be. And it'll be interesting that if it is, I'm curious how they deal with it. Um, because in the 90s that wasn't really accepted, and the
Yeah.
way that they kind of brought a lot of things to the forefront, I feel like they would honor people's choices there. I mean, man, the Power Rangers so far, and again, I know we're only 5 episodes in, but so far they have been very ahead of their time.
They really
You
have.
know, they are not stuck in the 90s with a lot of stuff. It was very interesting too. Do you remember the scene where Ernie is helping Jason during his weightlifting record?
Yeah.
So I didn't find this out until a little bit later, but Ernie evidently, um, he was a power lifter at one point
Really?
before he was an actor, and he had failed whatever, but they let him in on that particular scene. And from that scene, like he just kind of grew into a beloved icon in Power Rangers. So much so that they brought him back before he died.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I just found that to be really awesome. Uh,
Yeah.
you know, there's so much tribute being paid to these actresses and actors, and a lot of times we like make heroes out of these guys,
Yeah.
and some of them maybe they're not worth it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But JDF, man, dude was a rock solid person. He was a beautiful person for his fan base. Always kind of made time for fans. It didn't really matter where he was, or what he was doing.
Yeah.
Same thing with Paul Schreier, who plays Bulk. Like all these people, they make time for the fans. And even though I might not like Austin St. John all that much, he's still a great guy
Mm-hmm.
in terms of he cares about his fans.
He does.
Uh, and that's great. You know, Walter Emanuel loves his fans. All these people never grew out of their roles. And I think that's my important thing that really makes me grateful for growing up with it.
Absolutely.
Um, and like they have this way of like just capturing your childhood every single time they come on the screen. You
Yeah.
know, Bulk was definitely an interesting character those first 5 episodes, but so was Skull. I thought he was hilarious in a few of them.
Oh,
Uh,
absolutely. Just the stuff they get themselves into. They want to act all tough and then just fall flat on their faces.
right.
It's always funny. It's always that's one of the
Man, I
things.
love
Yeah.
the recycling bin part
Yeah.
where they just fall at him.
Yeah.
I still wanted them to be like, oh, it's time to take out the trash and kick it over and roll them out.
Yeah.
But like, it was so cheesy, but it was so funny and so well done. Um, and man, Billy learning how to dance at the end of that episode, man, I tell you, I wanted his dance instructor.
Yeah.
He learned that crap really quick.
He really did. Like when Billy puts himself into a lot of, I kind of sympathize with Billy, just and not well. I'm not that smart. I'm not as smart as Billy, but in terms of trying new things, I'd be a little hesitant too, like
Right.
dancing or doing martial arts, and so I can kind of relate to Billy on that. But yeah, like once he really sets his mind to something, like he he can really he's great. He's just
Oh, 100%.
yeah.
I think Billy is honestly one of my favorite characters in the old show. I don't think you can go wrong with him.
No, not at all.
I will tell you, Zach is definitely my favorite character out of the original five.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I like Zach a
And I think
lot.
it's just because how goofy he is. And I know that's his real personality.
Yeah,
So, like, it just hits different when you know they're not pretending. You know
yeah,
what I mean?
yeah.
But he's a really fun guy. I really enjoy his. If you ever see him at a con, he's one of the most humble people you will ever meet.
Hmm.
The dude is amazing. He really does care about everybody. His biggest issue is he tried to kind of branch off of Power Rangers and leave it behind, and it really didn't work out for him. But it wasn't his fault that it didn't. He tells a story of going into a like a I guess a casting call or whatever, and it's for a crime drama, and they're like, "Oh my God, you're the Black Power Ranger," and like he walked away from that interview because he was so discouraged
Yeah,
that that's what he's known for, not for any other accomplishment.
yeah,
And I get that, but I will say, like he handles himself amazing. I absolutely love it. Him and David Yost are coming back for the 30th anniversary show.
hmm.
Like I'm very excited. So yeah, man. What's our next topic?
Our next topic is let's talk about some of the lore.
Oh man. So as somebody who actually like grew up on the show, but recently got into the new comic series, I didn't know a lot of the lore that they're following within the comics was introduced in the first 5 episodes. I mean, man, like uh the power crystals kind of being introduced in the first 3 episodes, and then like how much world building they actually did within Angel Grove
Yeah,
for the sense of like, okay, so we now know the principal of the school they're at. We
yeah,
know, you know, why the communicators work the way they do. Like,
hmm,
man, there's just so much stuff that they paid like minute detail for a kid show.
yeah,
Like, dude, they're sitting here talking about these communicators, and I'm going, man, Billy's talking a lot about science, but man, like that would go over a lot of kids' heads. I wonder
yeah,
why they're doing that. But at the end of the day, I think it kind of leads back to it was well done. You know, yeah, Billy was talking crazy, and of course he was using big terms. Not many kids are going to get that. But what
yeah,
I like about it is they made it seem like the rest of the team didn't know either.
yeah.
Like, does that make sense?
It
Like,
does.
the rest of the team was just as mystified by his intelligence as a kid would have been.
Oh yeah,
Like, I really like that aspect. Another thing that I really like is how they kind of. So I had forgotten how Rita got out of the dumpster.
hmm,
Like, yeah, you kind of know about the whole after 10,000 years, I'm free, and, whatever. But
yeah,
you didn't really see a whole lot about it. So, whenever I see that episode, like, that girl that dubbed over for Rita, like, easily my favorite part of that show. And, dude, like, you can just tell she had an absolute fire for that job. She
yeah,
didn't take it overly serious. She didn't do anything like super crazy, but she had a lot of fun. And
yeah,
she had a lot of fun doing it. You could tell she absolutely loves her job. And also, like some of the nods that they did to pop culture in her like introduction were great.
yeah,
You had the flying monkey and the Wizard of Oz, where the witch was riding the bike
yeah,
through Angel Grove. You had a bunch of stuff that like you wouldn't notice unless you're kind of in the know as far as pop culture goes.
oh yeah,
But like there was a lot of interesting little nods to outside sources. And one of my other favorite things was kind of watching Jason develop into this role of silent protector.
Yeah.
Like, he really took it on himself to not let people be bullied in front of him. He did all this stuff. He was making sure, oh man, everybody's opinion matters. He tried to learn sign language for the deaf girl and failed miserably, but it was cute.
It was.
The
It
fact that
was
he was willing to try meant something, right?
absolutely.
Um, and then I have to say, like, they did a really good job of building up to the lore that, he's going to be one of the premier, if you will, one of the premier leaders of the team.
Oh yeah, totally. Like he was,
Um,
yeah. That was so apparent from the get go. Like he was gonna be the de facto leader. Like he just has that. He already just proved that role in the first episode. Like he knows what he's
right.
doing, and he's also
And
very.
as soon as he did, like the cool thing too is like it wasn't like, hey, they all just kind of followed his lead. No, like he was one of the only ones that stayed back as Zordon was explaining stuff. And then after Zordon was done, he was like, no, like I want to be a part of something bigger, you
Yeah.
know? I can't wait until we get to season 2, I think it is,
Mm-hmm.
because there is an event that the comics have touched on
Mm-hmm.
that we see within the show, but they actually go into depth and explain what happened during that scene.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm excited to get to that part because I can't wait to share that with you.
Oh yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
but like there's some really good episodes coming. I can't wait to get to Green with Evil with you.
Yeah.
I think that's going to be fun. Kind of going through that though. I know you have the expectation of the Green Ranger and stuff. Is there
Yeah.
anything necessarily that you're looking forward to actually seeing as somebody who's kind of familiar with the show,
Uh,
but not?
I'm just excited to see what more I can learn and what more I can like be nostalgic about with watching these stuff, because there are some things in the first 5 episodes I never really noticed or even remember even seeing, like the whole sign language thing that was completely new to me. So I just can't wait to see what else that I may not have picked up on. So I'm just excited to see the rest of it. Like
Yeah,
this was a childhood show for everybody for a very good reason, and I definitely missed out a lot, but I'm watching. I'm gonna watch them all right now, and yeah, I'm stoked.
because man, I'll tell you right now, there's definitely a few parts that I'm excited about. Moving forward, the one big thing is Tommy's introduction is really good, but like I don't want it to overshadow anything. Tommy was a important part of my childhood because I came in when Dino Thunder was first out,
Yeah,
and in that show he's the mentor. And then we find out all this ridiculous crap that he's done over the course of his life, being a ranger, all this other stuff. And you're
yeah,
like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. This dude's like a legend.
yeah,
And the one thing that I really, really hope that we get to like dig into is the villain dynamics, because we're gonna see Rita Repulsa, we're gonna see Lord Zed,
mm-hmm.
we're gonna see Rito Repulsa, we're gonna see Goldar kind of take a step, we're gonna see Ivan Ooze, like we're gonna see all these different villains, and it'll be interesting to see how each one views the Power Rangers,
Yeah,
but also how the Power Rangers view them and how they view each other, the villains
absolutely,
themselves.
absolutely.
Like I'm just excited to kind of dive in. Um, and I mean, I guess our last point should be, you know, condolences to Jason's family. Jason David
Absolutely.
Frank was an amazing person. I know that at the last part of his life, he was going through some struggles. There were a lot of things at home that were bothersome.
Yeah,
But at the end of the day, I just wish I wish somebody would have recognized the signs sooner.
yeah,
And I wish that, he was still here. Uh, he was a hero to a lot of people. I didn't necessarily have that attachment to him. Uh, I love him, and I think his character was amazing. I've met him a few times, but at the end of the day, like he didn't have the impact on me that he did on my dad. My dad and him knew each other for 20 plus years. They
Yeah.
were very good friends, and you know, my dad lost somebody that he cares about,
Mm-hmm.
and it's sad that we see this series and like three or four of the big parts of the series are now gone.
Yeah.
So I think we just kind of have to do this kind of stuff to honor them and
Absolutely.
draw attention to their legacy because this is a part of their legacy. Um,
Absolutely.
Mrs. Strand, the woman that played Trini, she died shortly after Mighty Morphin, I believe,
In
and
about
that's
2001.
heartbreaking. She
Yeah.
was very young, and Ernie didn't last too much longer, and I hate that too. I mean, but like this series has sustained a lot of heavy losses, but I'm
Yeah.
glad to see that their legacy is there for people to see even after they're gone. You know what I
Absolutely.
mean?
Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, as much as, like I said, as much as I'm not a super fan, I do recognize that these people held a lot of people to their hearts, and all I can do is, give my condolences too, for not just for the family, but for all the fans out there. They lost someone. They lost a lot of special people within their childhood, but just know they're gone. But they'll never be forgotten. That's a given. They'll never be forgotten, especially for
Right.
myself. Like, after watching these first 5 episodes, I'm extremely thankful for what they brought to the table and what they have given us. So
May the power protect them, as Zordon said.
exactly.
All right, man. I think that wraps up this episode.
Yep. Anyway, guys, like we just said, this guy. Well, first off, Bayside Roshi, thank you so much for stop. Thank you so much for help. Just thank you so much for even being here and definitely doing this with me. I can't wait to do more of these episodes with you. It's gonna be a lot of
Always,
fun.
man.
And everybody, and like we said, like I always say, guys, if you have anything you like us to review or react to, please leave it in the comment section down below. Put on post notifications so you don't miss what we do. Like, comment, share, subscribe, all that other good stuff. Follow us on all our social medias, and we'll see you guys at the next episode. So much love, you guys, and stay awesome.